Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Peditto. Welcome to Script Gods Must Die. Yes, you are here. It's Monday evening here in Chicago, chilly, cold Chicago. And I welcome you to the PowerPoint slash webinar of our topic tonight, which will be structure. I do have that, and I have some additional materials that I usually give when I teach. And if you want the websites or the links to these, some of these are JPEGs, some are Word docs on my computer, some are PDFs. If you want those, just shoot me a line, shoot me an email over at Script Gods, and I'll be happy to send them out to you. So let me try to do this with technical precision, and we'll see how it goes. On the topic of structure, one of the best sites to go to for structure is the John August site, which of course has the script notes, which is the best blog there is in the topic of screenwriting. If you haven't been there, we'll do a quick diversion here. Okay, we're going to improvise. He's got a great podcast here with Craig Mason. Okay. But the library is what I would recommend to you. And John August, of course, has done Charlie Chocolate Factory, Big Fish, and many other movies. But he's got some really good outlines for free here. You might want to check out at that location. And this is for a TV pilot. You could see it's really well laid out in terms of scene number, act, and then the number of scenes per act. There's no dialogue in any of these. It's just a very condensed beat sheet of scenes. And it's broken up into acts. So it's super clean. But there are several like this here. So I think this is worthwhile to you. You could see some of these links that he has here. So I would recommend this site to you. Interesting. When you look at something like that, you can put it on a cork board like my student did here. This is essentially the same thing as this. This is drama, so it's 4 acts and a teaser. And what's interesting is my student did the same thing here with a little $3 cork board, $5 cork board, and $1 worth of Post-it notes, breaking it down into A story, B story with the different colored. But you could see there's the breakdown of acts, and then there's the scene. And we're really not going to do TV too much today. And I don't know why I'm starting with it, but maybe because I could show you these comparison models. So this one was complete amateur hour, but this one isn't. That's the board for the last episode of Breaking Bad. And you could see it's the same thing, a teaser and multiple acts for 60 minutes, for 60-minute drama pilot, drama episode. And it's really fascinating. And each one of these isn't a scene. Maybe 4 of these is a single scene. And we'll go over beats within a scene in a moment when we do the PowerPoint. But I wanted to show you some of the TV stuff, even though we're not going to concentrate on that. But I'll be able to get you this if you need. Just shoot me an email at Script Gods Must Die. Here's another interesting TV. This is from Monica Beletsky, TV writer. And there's your structure again. Same thing, teaser and 5 acts. That's for the 60-minute model. 30-minute model would be a teaser, act one, act two, and the tag. So it'd be 30 minutes. This is 55 to 60. So you could see there's your model. And this is also really great because this has how she rewrites her TV episodes and the key 4 questions you always want to ask, which is what's the story? How do I tell it? Why will anyone care? Who's the audience? And even better, why now? Like, why is it timely? She always asks those questions. So I thought that was a really good thing, little all-in-one presentation for you. As far as structure, I thought this was an amusing little one-pager. It has all these different systems from Sid Field, George Lucas, and then the 3-act structure. And it's a complete mind melter. And we're going to get into the whole notion of you pouring your story into someone else's system and if that's a wise thing or not. Real quick, the most popular current model is the Save the Cat system, which is, I believe, 15 beats. There's your beats, right? Opening image, first few pages, catalyst, inciting incident right there. Get us out of act one into act two. Midpoint. Here comes the low point. Bad guys close in. All is lost. And where would we be without Dark Night of the Soul? Yes. And once we put the protagonist through the Dark Night of the Soul, it's time for them to get their shit together and come out the other side, which we do here. So, this is the standard system for Save the Cat, and I just wanted to show it to you. We're going to go over this in the PowerPoint in a moment. All right, what else do we have here? I think, is that about it? Oh, here's just an example of one of my beat sheets. There are a lot of scenes in a feature length, and this takes quite a while to put one of these together. You can see there's 15 pages of this, and there's about 10 scenes on each page. I should have spaced this out better. It's hard to look at, but basically there's no dialogue in here either. It's just giving me, it's carting it out. It's giving me broad strokes on each scene so that I can see the thing ahead of time and I know where I'm going. We'll get to the PowerPoint right now. We'll talk more about that. All right, here we go. Hopefully we can get there. Okay. We will get there. There you go. Structure. Yes. It's an interesting topic because the godfather of structure for screenplay writing was, I would say, Sid Field, who recently died. And Sid was kind of the reason I titled my blog, Script Gods Must Die. I'm sorry, Sid. I didn't mean to put the whammy on you, dude. But Sid was extremely influential, even though the guy wrote like no movies. He didn't have to write movies. he was writing books that were making millions and influencing people like James Cameron or Tina Fey or Judd Apatow. Yes, all those people were Sid devotees in their day with his outlining system, as was myself. I was a Sid uh, disciple. Sid took Greek 3-act structure and it adapted it for screenwriting. How did he do that? Well, you were to put each scene on index cards, 3x5 index cards, and then you were to lay those index cards out on a table and look at them and look at your movie and figure out the ending before you started. Figured out the whole movie in the scene order. And this was called outlining, and it was carting out Sid's system. This is what my early cards look like, which is just a slug line and then the basics of that scene. If I'm hearing some dialogue, yes, I'll throw it in there. So when I get to that scene, when I come back and start writing, I've got some dialogue already written there. But if I don't, it's fine. I'm just writing in the most basic description of what's going to happen in that scene. And in this way, I end up with over 100 scenes. There's no one number of scenes that you need to have for a feature-length script. Script could be 82 pages or could be 132 pages. So you would have many different amounts of scenes. The scene number doesn't really matter. It's just putting them in an order, seeing the thing ahead of time before you start writing. That was Sid's system. He believed that the writer must outline and you must know your ending before you begin. Which, here we go again with these screenwriting absolutes, right? There's a difference between like things I might recommend to you versus, someone saying, you must do this every time. I believe in Sid's book, Screenplay, he says, you must write every day. You must know your ending, blah, blah, blah. Which eventually I just kind of knew as, okay, that's his process. I do not tell writers what their process could be. Why would I tell you you have to write every day if you're working 50 hours a week and can't possibly write every day? Why would I tell you to do that? I don't like that inflexibility. It's about your process as a writer. When can you make time to write? Hopefully you can make time when you have energy, A-level energy. If you sit down to write and you have no energy, it may not even matter if you outline it because you're not going to write good stuff because you've got nothing left to give. You have to try to write when you're feeling most productive, and only you know when that is. I know some people who start at 6 a.m. They can write till 8, and then they go to the office by 9:30. I also know some folks who can't write during the week at all, but then they could sit down for 10 hours on a weekend, right? They're weekend warriors. Well, what's wrong with that? So long as you make advances in the script, there's nothing wrong with it. There's no one way to do this. And I don't believe directors like Altman, Cassavetes would, or Wells would worry about, like, did I hit my catalyst point? Oh, did I nail that dark night of the soul moment? I do like, and I don't always like Craig Mazin. I don't. But I think he said in one of the script notes, podcast that you're not, the whole notion of you pouring your story into one of these systems is absurd. And I kind of agree with that. I say tell a good story and then let the critics figure out where your plot point was. You know, tell a good story. That's what has to happen here. Outlining though works for many people because, well, for me, I need well, we'll get to it. I need the a surety of knowing where I'm going in a story. I'll get to that in a second. So there's a lot of screenplay structural system books out there. So many systems, so little time, so many gurus. And I know it's hypocritical, me telling you this in a screenwriting guru webinar. But yeah, I've actually written movies and plays that have gotten made. A lot of these gurus don't have to do that because they would much rather tell you how to try to make your movie than actually make one themselves because they're doing just fine with their books. It's almost a given when you hit IMDb for one of the gurus to find nothing there. But boy, can they talk a good game. I'm sorry, I'm getting off. Zip it. Here we go. Let's keep to the path here. Sid Field was the first for screenplays. How come there's so many structure books? Well, because I could have a novel that's 400 pages and I could have an 800-page story. It's still a novel. Movies are different. Movies, when was the last time you saw a 4-hour standalone movie? It doesn't happen. You have to usually put it somewhere between 80 and 120 pages. Comedy is usually shorter. You don't see a lot of 3-hour comedies getting made. So comedy is generally in the 90 to 100 page range. And then drama is somewhere between 90 and 120 because it's a page a minute. So 120 is presumably 2 hours of time. And that is where we find most movies. Sure, we get Oscar movies that are 2.5 hours all day long. And yeah, you get exceptions like Ted was a comedy at 126 pages. But in general, we're trying to put it somewhere between 90 and 120. And that's why there's so many of these structure books because it's not, it doesn't have the freedom of a novel where it could be 652 or 652 pages. Nope. We have to squeeze it in to that block of time. And that feeds into the screenwriting guru structure frenzy started by Sid Field, the paradigm. Joseph Campbell, Hero of a Thousand Faces, Call to Adventure, that he's the true godfather. But as far as screenplays go, so Sid was one of the early ones. And if you're Charlie Kaufman or Aaron Sorkin, could you do a 162-page script for Social Network? Yes. Is it going to get made? Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, then why can't you do it? Well, because, man, they're going to weigh your script. You're going to send them a PDF. They can't weigh a PDF, but they can go to the back and see, holy shit, this is 162 pages. See, this is why I can't do this lecture on YouTube, because do they allow all this kind of cursing on YouTube? I don't know. Anyhow, Aaron Sorkin gets 162 pages because he's Aaron Sorkin. I wouldn't try it. I would try to minimize the page count, as I've told you many times already. I would try to control what I can control, which means I'm going to try to write a tight script with a kick-ass story within however many pages I need, but hopefully it won't be this many. Do I get 120 pages for drama? Sure. Would it be better at 100? Yes. Why? Because readers have tired eyes. And if you could tell it in 100, why would you go to 120? Why do you have all that filler? There's no answer as far as how long it should be, but there needs to be some accountability in terms of what you're putting in there to tell the story. Here is a little thing called the movie clock that I made up. You could tell your story in linear or non-linear fashion. And I use a clock to demonstrate that. If you were telling your story in a linear fashion, we would just go straight around the clock without any breaks in time from top to the bottom of the story. Piece of cake. Non-linear is messing with time like Tarantino would. For instance, if I'm in a stagecoach and I'm driving to hand in my prisoner, and I'm moving around here in real time, and then right around here, I cut to the trading post 3 hours before to show that there was murder going on, to show the audience. Because this is straight Hitchcock, like, who has the information? So the audience, once you show that there was murder that happened for Hateful Eight in at the trading post, we know that they are heading right into a trap, but the characters don't know that, but we know that. The only way you did that was to take us out of order in time. So right here, we did the flashback scene, and then we're back to the stagecoach as they arrive at the trading post trap. And that's what nonlinear storytelling happens. That's what it does. So you have to decide, like, do I have a story where I need to mess with time? Do I have to be jumping around in time with flashes and flashbacks? The Babe was interesting. That was shot in my area of Chicago, in Southport area, near Wrigley Field. So in The Babe, this is a good example of linear storytelling. We open with the father dropping the kid off in an orphanage. She says, "Father, I can't handle this kid. You got to take him off my hands." Nice dad. Drops the kid off. There he goes. And now Babe's been orphaned, basically. And the inciting incident or catalyst is right here. That's where he picks up a bat almost by accident and amazingly hits the ball 300 feet over the fence, breaks somebody's window. The kid has amazing talent. We discovered that roundabout here at the inciting incident. The end of Act One, he signs with the Yankees. He's a nobody, but he signs with the Yankees. That happens end of Act One. What I have to do between here and the midpoint is, by the midpoint, he's the most famous player in the league. Everyone in the world knows him. So I have 25 to 30 pages to go from he's an unknown to he's the most famous player in the world. That's what I do with the first half of Act One. Then the back half of Act One is descending action into the low point, right? So he's the best player on earth to he's a drunken bum. That's what I have to accomplish here on the back end of Act Two. And I have to figure out all the scenes it's going to take to get me there. Then from here, to get to the climax, he's a drunken bum, but we're going to end with his famous pointing at Wrigley Field, which is right down the street. He's going to point at Wrigley Field to a spot in the bleachers where he's going to hit the home run. And sure enough, in legendary moment, he does that. And he wins the World Series game. And from that point, you have a helicopter shot to close it up in the last image, showing Yankee Stadium as the house that Ruth built and how he was one of the greatest players of all time. So that is the perfect ending to the story. There's not a waste of space. Everything is in its proper place where it's supposed to be, straight from childhood all the way to the end. That is linear storytelling. So you have to figure out in your own mind, how am I going to do this? Do I need to go back in time, mess with time, or not? Citizen Kane is interesting if you've seen it. Hopefully you have. It starts with his death. The death in real time happened like here on this clock in real time. But we're going to open with the death. And then here we're going to get reporters saying, who was that man? Let's find out who he was. And they're going to start to dig up and have interviews with people from his past, right? And the movie goes to his childhood, the snowy childhood where he was just growing up. So basically, that death happened here. We pick it up here. We have the reporters talking about, let's figure out who he is. Then we go back in time to where he was a kid, right? And then we do linear progression all the way to the end, straight through. We don't do any other cutbacks to where he dies again. There are a lot of movies like this with this structure, where at the top you give us a teaser and then we cut back in time to the beginning and then play it all out in straight time, like Serpico, Carlito's Way, and Milk. Memento is different. Memento, we have an unreliable narrator. It's crazy. We go 2 steps forward, 1 back, 1 step forward, 2 back. We have no idea what's going on. Time is being messed with because we're in the brain of an unreliable narrator who has no way of tracking time. Crazy movie. There are other crazy movies like Mulholland Drive, Usual Suspects, that mess with time and mess with the audience in terms of their grasp on what we're seeing. So the reason I outline, it's part of my process, is it's a Linus blanket for me. I feel safer knowing where I'm going with the story, and I'm willing to spend, it does take like weeks to do this for a feature from scratch, and then looking it over and over and over. I need it for my own process, but that doesn't mean you do. Would I recommend it? Yes, I would recommend outlining. It's a process choice and it's your own process. So everyone is different. And I showed you before I showed you the full beat sheet for chat, which was 15 pages long. crammed in like this with every scene. And by the way, if you wanted to look at chat, you can do it. It's still up on Tubi. Yes. Got a couple of movies up on Tubi, which I love. I love Tubi. And chat is up there. That was made, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. So yeah, Judith Molina, it was one of the co-founders of the Living Theater, and I saw her speak one time, and I asked her how she gets her ideas, and she said, "First, I think about what it is I'm trying to say, and then I go about saying it." And I thought that was genius because a lot of writers don't even think about that, right? Thematically, what is this movie about? Like, why are you going to spend months on this movie? Like, what is it about it that is the core that you want to write about? Because that's what gets funneled into the structure is these scenes of what I have to tell the story, and only what I have to have. You have to build it like a house. And the way to do that is to know this is what this movie is about. This is a crucial scene. This is just a dumb slide with a really gross centipede. Like, and you ask him as he's walking along, "Hey man, how do you move with all those legs?" He's been doing it his whole life, and he never once thought about it. And he stops to think about it, and then he's paralyzed. So it's a dumb thing, but it's basically what Craig Mazin was saying about don't overthink this, and don't worry about the gurus with all their structural systems. Just go out and write a great story. Uh, it's kind of like this gross thing, which I'm going to move on from. So the SID system has. I wish I had a blackboard here. I'm going to have to verbally tell you. It has the opening image, and then the first 10 pages are basically, this isn't the SID system, but it's the normal world, which is establishing key characters, location, tone, beginnings of conflict. I'm trying in the first 10 pages to establish the world that's going to go away. Like it's a world that's going to change, and it starts changing with the inciting incident, which in the Save the Cat system is the catalyst. It's the same stuff. Once you study these systems, you see it's pretty much the same stuff. So you have the inciting incident leading into the end of the act. So here I want to talk about an example of plot point 1. That's SID system plot point 1. In Save the Cat, it's the break into 2. And this is the Matrix, the very first one, the revolutionary one. You remember Trinity. You want to grab the audience right off the bat. And if you remember this movie, we had a fight sequence with visual effects like we had never seen before. Instantly classic and grabbed us. Then Trinity at the inciting incident tells Neo, I know you want to meet Morpheus. I can make that happen for you. And then there's about 5 to 10 pages in between where she makes that offer and he finally meets Morpheus. And that's the pill scene right here. This is the end of Act 1. You know it's the end of Act 1, and you know it's the plot point scene because there's no movie without it. He says, look, I have 2 pills here. If you take the green pill, you wake up in your bed and nothing happened. If you take the red pill, you come with me into Wonderland. Well, if he takes the green pill, there's no movie. He's got to take the red pill. And if I'm getting the colors wrong, I'm sorry, and correct me. Feel free to correct me. Wrong all the time. Anyway, he takes the red pill and boom, we're into the alternative world, right? We're on the ship, everything's cool. Neo's gonna fight Morpheus. It's wow, that's pretty damn cool. Uh, and then we get the midpoint for that movie, which is meeting the Oracle. Then we have the descent into Act Two, the end of Act Two, and the low point, which is usually in these structural systems where the low point happens, which is the end of Act Two. And here we have the second plot point, right? Each plot point gets us out of a scene. So the one that gets us out of Act Two is the low point. This is where they got betrayed. Half the crew was killed right on the spot. Everyone else is shot up. And by the way, Morpheus was taken prisoner and they're leaning on him, and he's probably going to be forced to spill the information. The revolution is over, right? Yes, but Neo is, we've got Neo on our side, man. And Neo says, wait a minute, the Oracle told me about this. I have to go rescue Morpheus. And Trinity says, no, don't go. He's like, I will go. I am Morpheus. I am Neo. And she's like, okay, fine, I'm coming with you. So they're like, okay, one of us has to learn how to fly a helicopter. Okay, now we need some guns. Got the guns ready to go. And then into Act Three we go, which is mostly, it's like a 15-20 minute shootout to liberate Morpheus. And then the climax at the end where he's like, now do you believe, Trinity? Now do you believe he is the one? Yes. To the tune of God knows how many movies and spinoffs. But there's no movie without these scenes. If he says, no, you know what? Why don't we just hang here? we'll watch we'll watch some movies in this fake world. Because I'm afraid of the agents. They're too fast for us. I'm chicken. I can't rescue him. Man, he's the hero, right? He's got to go rescue Morpheus. That's his call. So that's what's going to happen at the end of plot point 2. And you start to see, like, especially not necessarily art house, Sundance Fair, but definitely with bigger budget tentpole movies and studio fair comic book stuff, Marvel Universe. They're right on cue with these structural markers, these structural landmarks. And maybe you are someone who really wants that sort of order. If I were you, it's not in this PowerPoint, but I do recommend it. Think about this as a sort of jigsaw puzzle. And you're going to take all these scenes you have in your mind, and you're going to put them, you're just going to think up all these scenes. Don't try to go, okay, page 1, and then do some sort of a linear like brainstorming. Don't do that. It has to be more of like cubism, where I'm going to take stuff that's probably out of order. I'm going to paste it in there first. Then I'm going to figure out how it all goes. Like jigsaw puzzle pieces. But you have these structural tent poles, right? Opening image, inciting incident, plot point 1, midpoint, plot point 2, climax. Once I know those scenes, then I can figure out, okay, that goes in Act 1. That has to go in Act 3. And then you start ordering the stuff in your mind as you outline. And that's the way you do it. Here, real quick, Godfather structure. Try to get everyone in there that we're going to see. Try to get the key characters in the first 10 pages. In the first scene here at the wedding, the first sequence, it's drama, 1940s, 50s, whenever it is, drama, 1950s, gangsters, and here are the key characters. Like everyone we need to know is at this wedding. It's a great organizing device. So try to imagine scenes like this where I can get the key people in there early. Don't make us wait too long for the protagonist. Anyhow, in The Godfather, the plot point, you may remember this scene, is where they bring the drug dealer to the Don, and he wants to do a deal with the Don, give him a piece for power, for his protection and his judges. And the Don says no. Brando says, no, I can't do that. And because he does that, there's an assassination attempt. That is the plot point one. There's no movie without this scene. In fact, there's no trilogy. Think about it. That's how important this scene is. If at this meeting, he said yes to the drug dealer guy, he would never have been shot, and Michael would never have taken over. None of that would have happened because this wouldn't have happened because he said yes to the drugs. It's all connected. That's how you know it's the plot point, because there's no three movies without this one scene. Anyhow, plot point two, the low point, is where James Caan, Sonny, gets killed on the causeway, and then minutes later, his new Italian wife gets killed in the bomb meant for him. That happens back to back, pretty late. That is the plot point two, the low point for the protagonist. And then the climax is the famous baptism sequence where he's going to kill all 4 or 5 of his enemies, I forget how many, while he's being a godfather in church. Magnificent writing, fantastic filmmaking. This movie will be around for hundreds of years, and I'm not just saying that because I'm Italian. It's true. And go to my blog. So I hope this was interesting for you. Can I come out of this? Let's see. I hope this was interesting for you. I'm always around if you need help with your script. I'm happy to help. Just email me. The email is up on the Script Gods site. Or if you have any questions, just drop me a line and I will email you back. And if you wanted any of the links for the Word and PDF docs that I have here, send me an email and I'll include it. I'll send it to you. Anyhow, thank you for looking in. Take care of yourself. All the best.